on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep, and on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio here in Detroit. It's Sunday, February 6, 2022. Welcome to the African History Network show. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. So once again, it's been a very busy week. There's a lot going on. We see an attack on HBCUs, the bomb threats on HBCUs. Luckily, no one was hurt. The FBI is reporting that they have 6 juveniles who are persons of interest, 6 juveniles who are persons of interest. It was good reporting by NBC News on that. So we have an update on that. Then also we have an update on the story that we did early in the week on Wednesday when we talked about Whoopi Goldberg being suspended for 2 weeks behind comments that she made on the air on The View on Monday regarding the Jewish Holocaust, and that the Jewish Holocaust was during World War II. The Jewish Holocaust was not about race. It was about man's inhumanity against man. Now, this has brought about a lot of backlash from different aspects, for and against. A lot of fans are upset that Whoopi Goldberg is being suspended for 2 weeks after she apologized on the air. You have some people saying, well, wait a second. Meghan McCain said all this stupid nonsense on The View. She didn't get suspended. And then also you have a lot of fans who are upset as well. So one of the things that gets left out of this conversation, and we dealt with this early in the week, I did an extensive show. We did almost 3 hours on Wednesday. Okay. So one of the things that gets left out of this conversation is understanding the nuances of Nazi Germany, and that the Nazis saw the Jews as an inferior race. The Nazis saw themselves as an Aryan race, as a superior race, and saw the Jews as an inferior race. Okay. So, but what gets left out of this whole conversation are the Afro-Germans that Hitler was killing also. So we're going to talk briefly about this. We have some updates on this story here dealing with Whoopi Goldberg and some of her View co-hosts who are coming out in support of her as well. TheDailyBeast.com had a really good article early in the week, updated on February 2nd, updated on Wednesday, February 2nd. We have some other reporting on this as well. Okay. Now, then we have an update on the HBCU bomb threats. And it's interesting that these HBCU bomb threats took place right around the beginning of Black History Month. And it appears that there is a white supremacist element to these bomb threats also. It appears there is a white supremacist element to these bomb threats as well. Now, at the bottom of the hour, we're going to be joined by Montsho Nwahsa Edu. Montsho Nwahsa Edu. Do you know what Akoma Day is? I interviewed them earlier in the week on our social media platforms. We're going to talk about Akoma Day. Akoma Day is celebrated in 16 countries around the world, and Akoma Day is a cultural alternative to Valentine's Day. Akoma Day is an African-centered cultural alternative to Valentine's Day. So we're going to have them on shortly to talk about Akoma Day and how to celebrate it. Okay, and it's February 14th through the 20th, Akoma Day. Then also, many people have heard about the police killing of Amir Locke, okay, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. I was a panelist on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. And we got to speak with Roland interviewed Amir Locke's mother, as well as the family attorney. So we'll talk a little bit about this case. We'll probably talk some more about this on our Monday show. And this is a situation where you had this African-American young man who was legally armed, 22 years old, legally armed, concealed pistol license. All right, we'll be back in a few minutes. Let's
STEM Forward, helping our community find their place in the emerging fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Join us for our monthly live stream on our website, stemforwardedu.org. Watch, subscribe, share. Also join our mailing list to stay up to date with STEM resources and opportunities. STEM Forward, the future is now. Watch, subscribe, share.
The work that I do is larger than the fashion industry. It's larger than the art world. And I believe that I was born to bring newness into this world. I'm Kaima McIntyre. I'm 24 years old and I'm an artist. I create everything from paintings to jewelry design, metaphysical jewelry to be specific, and fashion design. The only reason why my prom dress went viral is because people needed it. Within a few days of going viral, Notori Naughton reached out to me and she's like, I saw your dress, can you make me a dress? I was equally as shocked to be asked by a celebrity to design their dress at the age of 17. That's just one person, and the list just continues to go on to Janet Jackson, to Tyra Banks. It really hits home. That means that the discussion is happening on the grounds in real time.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, February 6th, 2022, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. All right, so right before the break, I was given a rundown of the topics of today's show. So we're going to give you an update on the story we covered early in the week, dealing with Whoopi Goldberg being suspended for 2 weeks from The View. You have some of her co-hosts who are speaking out, who are outraged. You have fans who are speaking out also, who are outraged and calling a double standard as well. There's a big article from shadowandact.com about this. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about the history of the Nazis killing the Afro-Germans, because this always gets left out of the conversation, especially during the International Day of Remembrance of the Holocaust, which is January 27th. I don't understand how that somehow gets left out of the conversation. We talked about this on our Wednesday show extensively. We did almost 3 hours dealing with that topic, as well as the HBCU bombing. So go back and watch our Wednesday show. Also on today's show, we'll talk a little bit about the Amir Locke, who was killed in Minneapolis, Minnesota as well. We'll talk about that police killing, as we were explaining right before the break. We're going to be joined by Montsho Nwahsa Edu in a few minutes to talk about Akoma Day. And also Brian Flores, former Miami Dolphins head coach. Brian Flores this past week, actually on Tuesday, first day of Black History Month, he filed a lawsuit against the NFL claiming racism when it comes to hiring African-American NFL coaches. Okay. He talked about Sham Interviews. He talked about the text message he got from Bill Belichick as well. So New England Patriots head coach Bill Belichick. So early in the week, I shared the interview that Brian Flores did on Chris Hayes' show on MSNBC. He was interviewed yesterday by Reverend Al Sharpton on Politics Nation. So we're going to talk about that also. We'll share that interview and we'll talk about that as well. All right. I want to go to this first clip here. How's everybody doing? And then we'll give you an update on our online class. We had the great class Saturday and Sunday, class number 1 of Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We did that. You can still register for these 10-week online classes that I teach. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. The classes are on sale right now. They're discounted. And then Sundays, today we did From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement of Black Power, 1865, 1868. And we also have them in a bundle pack on sale. They're regularly $130. They on sale $80 each, but in the bundle pack, they're on sale only $120. And they're yours. You can access the class even a year from now, 2 years from now. You'll still have access to it. If you have taken any classes from me before, email me at AHNshow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll give you 50% discount on these new classes. Email me at AHNshow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll give you 50% off on these new classes and the bundle pack also. All right, I want to jump into this first story here. We're going to go to clip one, Jalen. So this is from Good Morning America. This is about what happened with Whoopi Goldberg and the suspension. Let's go to clip one.
News overnight. The View co-host Whoopi Goldberg suspended for 2 weeks for her comments about the Holocaust. Ariel Reshef has the story. Good morning, Ariel.
Good morning to you, George. Though Goldberg has apologized, her comments sparked a firestorm, some seeing this as a troubling sign of fading understanding about the horrors of the Holocaust. This morning, ABC News suspending Whoopi Goldberg for 2 weeks in response to her inflammatory remarks about the Holocaust. ABC News President Kim Godwin saying in a statement, effective immediately, I am suspending Whoopi Goldberg for 2 weeks for her wrong and hurtful comments. While Whoopi has apologized, I've asked her to take time to reflect and learn about the impact of her comments. The entire ABC News organization stands in solidarity with our Jewish colleagues, friends, family, and communities.
If you're going to do this, then let's be truthful about it, because the Holocaust isn't about race.
On Monday's show, the host of ABC's The View inaccurately claimed the Holocaust was not related to race.
It's not about race. It's not about
What
race.
is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man. That's what it's about. Whoopi Goldberg.
Goldberg appearing to double down on the Colbert Show that night.
The American experience tends to be based on skin.
Yes. And so that is what race means to me. Mm-hmm. When you talk about being a racist, I was saying you can't call this racism. This was evil. Mm-hmm. This wasn't based on the skin. You couldn't tell who was Jewish. Mm-hmm. They had to delve deeply to figure it out.
Then tweeting an apology, saying in part, the Jewish people around the world have always had my support, and that will never waver. I'm sorry for the hurt I have caused. And the next day, opening The View with this.
I said that the Holocaust wasn't about race, and it was instead about man's inhumanity to man. But it is indeed about race, because Hitler and the Nazis considered Jews to be an inferior race. Now, words matter, and mine are no exception. I regret my comments, as I said, and I stand corrected. I also stand with the Jewish people, as they know, and y'all know, because I've always done that.
By the end of the Holocaust, just 77 years ago, 6 million Jews had been murdered.
That might not fit exactly or feel different than the way we think about race in 21st century America, where primarily it's about people of color. But throughout the Jewish people's history, they have been marginalized, they have been persecuted, they have been slaughtered, in large part because many people felt they were not just a different religion, but indeed a different race.
The head of the Anti-Defamation League warning anti-Semitism is still a real and present danger.
We need people on good faith on the left and the right to call this out forcefully, fully, without hesitation.
And studies show an alarming decline in knowledge about the Holocaust at a time when anti-Semitism has surged to unprecedented levels. The FBI saying Jews are the most targeted for religious-based hate crimes in this country. And George, as you heard there, Goldberg saying she regrets her comments and any hurt they may have caused.
Okay, so that was from Good Morning America. Good reporting there. Still, notice nobody said anything about the Afro-Germans that Hitler was killing. I just find that all to be just very interesting. Okay, so the call-in number is 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Now, I want to look at this here quickly. If we look at so Americans are very ignorant when it comes to history. Okay, that's just. I mean, that's a lot of historians talk about this. All right. And they know even less when it comes to the history of African Americans in this country. Okay. So just for the sake of time, we're going to just hone in on three things. This is from the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. Okay, this is encyclopedia.ushmm.org. Nazi racism and overview. Racism fueled Nazi ideology and policies. Racism fueled Nazi ideology and policies. The Nazis viewed the world as being divided into competing inferior and superior races. Inferior and superior races, each struggling for survival and dominance. They believed the Jews were not a religious denomination, but a dangerous non-European race. The Nazis who claimed that they were the Aryan race saw the Jews as an inferior race. Okay, Nazi racism would produce murder on an unprecedented scale. We're talking about a different type of racism. We're not talking about racism from the United States concept. We're talking about racism from Nazi Germany, this foreign concept of racism. Racist. Okay, so read the rest of this here, and this has racial anti-Semitism is the prejudice against hatred of Jews based on false scientific theories. Now, according to Nazi theories of race, Germans and other Europeans perceive superior and physical and mental traits. According to Nazi theories of race, Germans and other Europeans had perceived superior physical and mental traits. And let me see if I could zoom in on this some more. They considered, here we go. They considered, let me back up. All right. They considered European peoples to be Aryans descended from the ancient Indo-Europeans who settled throughout the European continent, as well as Iran and India. Okay, so it's understanding racism differently, not based upon white Americans and African Americans. Now, what gets left out now at the same website, I find very interesting. Very few people talk about this. They deal with Afro-Germans during the Holocaust. Afro-Germans during the Holocaust. Okay. Now, there were 25,000 to 50,000 Afro-Germans that were killed during the Holocaust as well. Somehow they don't get talked about. Okay. Now, when we come back from a break, we're going to speak with Montsho Nwahsa Edu about Akoma Day. We're going to pick up this topic here, dealing with Whoopi Goldberg and Afro-Germans after that interview. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
STEM Forward, helping our community find their place in the emerging fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Join us for our monthly live stream on our website, stemforwardedu.org. Watch, subscribe, share. Also join our mailing list to stay up to date with STEM resources and opportunities. STEM Forward, the future is now. Watch, subscribe, share.
Abundant Capital Group is a real estate investment company with over 20 years of experience in real estate. They specialize in two areas of real estate. One, they solve real estate problems with creative financing solutions that give the seller the most money for their property. And two, they show individuals how to get a higher rate of return on their investment capital with real estate note investing. If you are looking to sell or need to sell your property, here is what they provide. Market value offer, even if you have little or no equity. They typically pay all closing costs, which can be thousands of dollars. They close on a date of the seller's choosing, and the seller does not have to be out of the house at the time of closing. They take the property in an as-is condition, and the seller is not required to make any repairs. Give them a call or email them today for a free consultation and see how they can help you with your real estate needs. Call them at 973-475-8488. That's 973-475-8488. Visit their website, abundantcapitalgroup.com. That's abundantcapitalgroup.com. And email them at acg@abundantcapitalgroup.com. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Abundant Capital Group. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, February 6th, 2022, and we are live. Okay, we'll go back to the phone. We'll go to the phone lines after this segment here. So we know Valentine's Day is coming up on February 14th, and we know that Valentine's Day in this current incarnation, we know Valentine's Day was not created by African Americans in this current incarnation, does not come out of African culture the way it is celebrated now. So some people may ask, what is Akoma Day? Okay, what is Akoma Day? And here to tell us about Akoma Day are the co-founders, Montsho and Nwahsa Edu. Hotep, everybody. How you all doing today?
Well, greetings, Akoma, greetings. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. We have Montsho.
Yeah, okay. So,
and is Nwahsa with you?
Yes, Nwahsa is coming with me.
Oh, okay.
He's, in the other room, we had the children.
Okay.
Full of fasting at the last meeting. So she's catching up.
I understand that. All right. Well, look, February 14th is coming up, and Akoma Day is a African-centered, a cultural alternative to Valentine's Day. So give us the basics. Give us a crash course in Akoma Day. What is it, and when is it celebrated?
Okay, so Akoma Day is the international cultural alternative to Valentine's Day. It is celebrated from February 14th to February 20th. So it's a 7-day holiday that has 7 virtues and 7 principles, 7 symbols on the Akoma Day altar. And it's designed to reorientate Black people to the celebration of love. So we support the celebration of love in all its manifestations, from the intimate relationship to the family, to the community, and to the people of the nation state of Black people, wherever we find ourselves in the world. The problem is that conceptually, we don't want to celebrate love from the standpoint of a group of people who have oppressed us. And whether we were oppressed or not, we don't want to celebrate love from a center that is not our own. So our consciousness center, our cultural consciousness center has to be aligned for us to do anything. And so through a historical understanding, we learned that the symbol that is commonly miscalled the heart is actually an ancient African symbol called the Akoma. Yes. And the Akoma is the Adinkra manifestation from Ghana, West Africa, but we see this symbol throughout the diaspora, throughout the eras or for the eons. And so the symbol is as old as African people are. And so there is no real birth date of it, but through the Akon, we learn some of the symbology of the symbol. So what we did was take that realization and began to do some core study. And when we did that, we recognized, or we found out that there had been an ancient celebration that had lasted for a week during the 3rd week of February, which was in alignment with the fertility of the nation, or the women specifically. And it is that original festival that the Festival of Lupercalia, the Greco-Roman holiday, is based on. And for those of us who know or do not know, Lupercalia later became Valentine's Day.
Right.
And so, so really, by us having divine inspiration to create Akoma Day, we're just really realigning the celebration of Black love back to its original creators and to put it into cultural context.
Okay, so you said that so the festival of Lupercalia, which was celebrated by the Romans, fertility festival, and we know Lupa is in reference to Lupa is in reference to the she-wolf who nursed Romulus and Remus, who in the mythology was said to be the founders of Rome, two little orphan boys. But what was the celebration that preceded Lupercalia that was an African celebration?
And this is what we don't know. And the reason we don't know it is because we're finding out through the Europeans, as what happens so often, that they were modeling an ancient celebration that the Africans had. So somewhere an early name exists, but we don't know what it is. But we do know that they were modeling something that they saw. They were attempting to model what they saw. But as usual, our symbology and our customs and our rituals and our commemorations are based on our consciousness. And so when someone, for us being the parent people of humanity and being the first to do most things, when someone is modeling that with a limited understanding and they are evolving it based on their consciousness, many things get warped.
Right.
And so when we, as Black people in the West, have gotten Valentine's Day, there's always been a resonance in Valentine's Day that seems fair, good enough. You know, we're celebrating love, and women are really moved by it, and the colors of red and white and, you know, pink. We're looking at this and saying, hey, this is okay. Right. Not realizing that this is our ancient stuff. And part of what's resonating in us is the fact that this is what we had been doing for eons. But, you know, to answer your question succinctly, I don't know the name. Nwahsa and I don't know the name of the festival.
Okay.
But we do know that it predated Greece.
Right.
And then predated Rome. And, you know, the two of them kind of combined to create what we now know as Valentine's Day.
Well, the Greeks and the Romans learned from the ancient Kemetic people, the ancient Africans in the Nile Valley region of Africa. Absolutely. So we know they got a lot. We know a lot of their deities were copies of deities from the Medu Neter, from the deities, the forces of nature, and ancient Kemet. Okay, so Akoma Day is celebrated in 16 countries. It's celebrated from February 14th through the 20th. It's the international cultural alternative to Valentine's Day. Now, people can visit the website AkomaHouseInitiative.com. We have the website up here on the big screen, Akoma House, AKOMA, AkomaHouseInitiative.com for more information. So what are some of the ways that people can actually celebrate Akoma Day? We know for Valentine's Day, people may go to dinner and buy flowers and enrich the flower industry and Hallmark and things like this. What are some ways that people can celebrate Akoma Day?
People can celebrate Akoma Day much like they would celebrate Valentine's Day.
Okay.
It's just a realignment in how you're going to be spending your money and what your intention is. So you can still go to dinner. The idea is that you would be circulating the dollar and buying Black as often as you can. If you're going to get, you know, some sacred jewelry done or anything that you do, you're really looking to contribute some of our part of the $19 billion that goes into Valentine's Day. We're looking to contribute that back into our own communities. Instead of just being solely consumer, we want to share with each other. But specifically for Akoma Day, we have the virtues and the principles that you would look to embody in your relationship daily. So each day has one virtue and one principle. The first virtue is flexibility. So you would say to yourself, how can I be more flexible in my relationship?
Okay. Can you all hear me? Because you're breaking. Somebody's breaking up.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you better now. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead. You're done with the first principle.
The first principle is unified purpose. So in that, we have to revisit the purpose of our relationships, and an annual revisit is perfect. So looking at how you're actually going to align your two individual purposes into one would be your unified purpose. So all of the principles are unifying principles in order to come together as the art and science of soulmating. So you have your individual life path, but for each day of Akoma Day, you'd be doing something that would be an honorable virtue to live by and something that would be a unifying principle. So the virtues are flexibility, patience, faithfulness, consistency, endurance, fondness and goodwill, and forgiveness.
Okay.
And, it takes a reminder, like an annual holiday, in order to do that, because often we do that sometimes in the beginning of a relationship, but we forget, how we can maintain those things, or new opportunities present for us to maintain those virtues.
Exactly. Okay, so hold it right there, Nwahsa. We're coming up on a break. We're going to let you finish on the other side of the break.
Okay.
And people visit AkomaHouseInitiative.com. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep, right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. We'll be back in a few minutes.
What does self-care mean to you? To us, it's an opportunity to reconnect with nature. A chance to create something remarkable. At Sage and Elm Apothecary, our handcrafted skincare and household products immerse you in Earth's sweetest nectar, connecting you to nature in a way you never imagined. See for yourself and visit us at sageandelmapothecary.com.
iRedify is a Black-owned digital platform that showcases Black and Brown cultures and people. The books on the platform are written by African-American authors, Afro-Caribbean authors, African authors, and so much more. Kids 14 and under can read ebooks, listen to audiobooks, and complete learning activities. Kids can even write in the books digitally. Get unlimited access to everything on the platform for only $8.99 a month at iRedify.com. Sign up for your membership today.
Mental health and well-being have long been a taboo subject in the so-called African American community. So I enlisted the help of mental health experts, thought leaders, and activists to help kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We experience trauma a lot of times on a subconscious level. So sometimes something happens to us and we know that it's traumatizing, but we don't really recognize the extent of the trauma.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, February 6, 2022, and we are live. Before we go back to Montsho and Nwahsa, very quickly, if you want to support the African History Network, you'd like this type of information, you can visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have the information there. Through Cash App is $ TheAHNShow through Cash App, $ TheAHNShow through Cash App. Also through PayPal, PayPal.me/TheAHNShow. We're here 6 days a week to help us keep doing the research and stay on the air and keep broadcasting. Also at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, you can register for the online class. And put them on hold for me, Jalen. Put them on hold, please. Also at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, you can register for the online classes I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. On Saturdays, it is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, where they didn't teach you in school. We had a fantastic class this weekend. It was class number 1. It's a 10-week online course I teach. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. This is 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Each Saturday, 10 consecutive Saturdays. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch them anytime. So a year from now, if you want to go back and watch the entire class, you can. This class is regularly $130. It's on sale, $80. And then on Sundays, I teach from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Okay. And so we deal with history starting with the Louisiana Purchase. I taught this class today. We started with the Louisiana Purchase, and we're going to go through the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power Movement. Okay. So visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have a bundle pack. You can register for both classes for only $120. If you've taken any of my classes before, email me at AHNShow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AHNShow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You're going to get a 50% discount on these classes. Okay. So we're going to go back to the phone lines. We have Montsho and Nwahsa educating us on Akoma Day, which is an international cultural alternative to Valentine's Day. Visit their website, AkomaHouseInitiative.com. And Nwahsa, you were giving us the principles and explaining to us how to celebrate Akoma Day from February 14th to February 20th. Go ahead and finish that.
Yeah, so inside of the Akoma Day book, we have a lot of suggestions for something that you can do to actually
the Akoma Day
embody
book.
or share.
Say that again, the Akoma Day book.
But
can you hear me? Yeah,
the first principle.
Nwahsa, can you hear me? Yeah, you said the Akoma Day book. Just to let people know. Just explain that, the Akoma Day book.
Yes, we have a book. It's called Akoma Day, guidebook into the sacred science of soulmating and a cultural alternative to Valentine's Day. And that book goes over some of the history that Maafa was just talking about the origins of Valentine's Day, some of the myths and some of the ritual behind it that is actually in opposition to what we really want to cultivate in our relationships.
Right.
It also talks about why we need to have something in alignment so that we can actually support and revive our relationships and make them endure and be fulfilling. And then the third part of the book is over 28 different exercises that you can do to embody the principles. So the first principle is unified purpose, which is extremely important for us to be aware of a purpose for our relationships. So there are exercises that help you figure out what your purpose is and then unify a purpose so that you have a vision for your relationship. Once you have a vision and a purpose, you would have work that you could do. So the second principle is unified labor. Once you have your unified labor, ideally, you're going to transform something. So yourself, each other, the community. So the third principle is unified transformation. From that, you would create something. So we say when two people come together, there is a third thing created all of the time. Yes. So the fourth principle is unified fruit. So the fruit that comes from your work and your transformation, which is in alignment with your purpose. And then the fifth principle is unified body. The sixth principle is unified mind. The seventh principle is unified soul. So that is the outline for the 7 days. And each day you're really seeing how you can reflect, how you can realign, how you can renew. And this is the purpose of a holiday like this that would be about love and relationships, whether it's your relationship with self, your intimate partnership, or your family relationship. These are things that need to be renewed often. Right. And this is a much more, I would say, purposeful idea behind celebrating love. Often with Valentine's Day, we realize we might not have purpose. And we might just, end the relationship before the holiday.
You may just do it because of pressure.
You may just celebration.
You may just do it because you're pressured to do it or something like that. Right. So there's no real purpose. No.
You see, it's kind of like subconscious.
Exactly. Okay. So let people know how they can get more information about Akoma Day, and Akoma Day deals with the sacred science of soul mating as well. How can people get more information about Akoma Day?
We have courses on Akoma Day.
You still there?
You can access
Okay.
courses on Akoma on our website.
Okay.
And get the information about the virtues and principles and things that we've done as a community and as, a family celebration. You can also pick up the Akoma Day book and find out, what Akoma Day is, what the symbols are, how to set up your Akoma Day altar. And we have an outline of that on our website, AkomaHouseInitiative.com.
AkomaHouseInitiative.com, and you all are you deal with relationships, your relationships experts, your therapists, you're licensed as well. We talked about that earlier in the week also. So we know you have the Black Love School also. There's information at their website about the Black Love School. And you've been to different countries for celebrations regarding Akoma Day also. Is that correct?
Well, people have contacted us from several different countries in order to order the book and, celebrate the holiday. So, yes, we are in 15 different countries.
15?
People as far from us, from as far from New Jersey as New Zealand, have, contacted us in order to purchase books and get, information about ritual. So this is, a universal holiday that's based on just universal principles that as a Black nation, we have celebrated, for thousands and thousands of years, the idea of reunification as soulmates, the idea of, complementary energy in love partnerships, and just the idea of the intimate two people coming together as what we call now soulmate, twin flame, all of these kinds of words. We have the first version of that. And I think that resonates with people, with Black people, no matter where we are on the planet.
All right. Montsho Nwahsa Edu, visit their website, AkomaHouseInitiative.com. And thanks for coming on tonight, Hotep, and we'll talk to you later, okay? All right.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it. Nia Akoma.
All right, brother. Peace. All right, Nia Akoma. Okay, everybody, look, we're coming up on a break. Give us a call, 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. When we come back from the break, we'll get your comments, your thoughts dealing with the suspension of Whoopi Goldberg. I'm going to give you some more history dealing with the Afro-Germans that the Nazis were killing that don't get talked about. Oftentimes when they have the International Day of Remembrance of the Holocaust, we'll talk about Brian Flores suing the NFL. We'll talk about Amir Locke, and we'll talk about the HBCU bomb threats. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Jeanette Davis is a well-established author with 6 published books. Black Survival in White America from Past History to the Next Century was published in 1995, and it delves into the history of African Americans before slavery up to contemporary times. The Great Divide Between Blacks and Whites was released in 2008, and her autobiography, Black Just Like My Mama, was published in 2010. Soulful Journey, The Business of Beings, was released in December 2021, and her 2 latest books, Echoes from the Heart, Love Throws Poetry, and Master Being Human, were both published in January of 2022. Jeanette Davis' writings delve deeply into the psyche of Black people from ancient to contemporary times. She cuts no corners and leaves no stones unturned in relating truth, letting the chips fall where they may on both African and European doorsteps. Order Jeanette Davis's books today at Amazon.com. Search for Jeanette Davis and get to know her work today.
Soul in Motion, celebrating 38 years in the arts. This energetic ensemble of dancers and drummers was started by percussionist Michael Friend and is led by choreographer Associate Director Pam Lassiter. Based in the Washington, D.C. area, Soul in Motion is now accepting bookings for Black History Month, Juneteenth, and summer festivals in 2022. Soul in Motion is also available for more intimate events like naming ceremonies and weddings. To find out more or to book your date, call 240-452-1349 or send an email to info@soulinmotion.org. sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Soul in Motion, celebrating our history, our culture, our future. Soul in Motion. Theater, African dance, and drumming since 1984.
A division of Adele Media.
I'm Dr. Michael Imhotep. On the African History Network show, we deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Unfortunately, many people confuse what racism means. Racism is a power structure. It was laws and policies that put us in this predicament. It's going to be laws and policies that take us out. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the compass of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know.
We have it all on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History.
Opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, February 6, 2022, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, a quick question or comment, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. Okay, so right before the break, we were given an update on Whoopi Goldberg. She was suspended. We got the news basically Wednesday morning that she was suspended from The View for 2 weeks. And I did an extensive show early in the week on this on Wednesday. So go back and watch our Wednesday show on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep. It's an audio podcast format. Search for The African History Network show wherever you get your audio podcasts from also. And we're on Facebook podcasts as well, because I did almost 3 hours. That was our Wednesday, February 2nd show. Okay, so I want to go back to this piece here. This is from the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. This deals with Afro-Germans during the Holocaust. Afro-Germans during the Holocaust. Now, it's also important to note that the concept of the Nuremberg laws that were used on the Jews and used to suppress the Jews, the Nazis got the concept from the segregation laws that the U.S. was using against African Americans, and different laws they had, anti-miscegenation laws, different things like this. Okay, so it's important to understand a lot of that history, where that comes from. There's a piece from history.com that deals with how the relationship between the Nuremberg laws and the Jim Crow laws. This is this piece here from history.com, which is the official website of the History Channel. And read this article here, because I don't have time to get deep into it. How the Nazis were inspired by Jim Crow. How the Nazis were inspired by Jim Crow to craft legal discrimination. The Third Reich studied the United States. Okay, to craft legal discrimination, the Third Reich studied the United States. This is from March 26, 2021, updated March 26, 2021, from history.com. When the Nazis set out to legally disenfranchise and discriminate against Jewish citizens, they weren't just coming up with ideas out of thin air. They closely studied the laws of another country, according to James Q. Whitman, author of Hitler's American Model. That country was the United States. Okay. America in the 20th century was the leading racist jurisdiction in the world. Some say it still is. Says Professor Whitman, who's a professor at Yale Law School. Nazi lawyers, as a result, were interested in, looked very closely at, and were ultimately influenced by American race law. Okay, read the rest of this article here. Somehow this gets left out of the conversation. How the Nazis were inspired by Jim Crow law. History.com. History.com is the official website of the History Channel, by the way. Okay, so if we look at this here, we'll go to the phone lines in just a second. We'll go to Rodney in just a minute here. If we look at this here from the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, this deals with Afro-Germans, okay? Afro-Germans. The Nazi German regime did not have an organized program to eliminate African Germans. However, the regime discriminated against and persecuted them. Some black people in Germany and German-occupied territories were isolated. An unknown number was sterilized, incarcerated, or murdered. Now, estimates, and there's a good article from thought.co, I think it is. Estimates are between 25,000 to 50,000 Afro-Germans were killed. Thoughtco.com. Learn more about Black history in Germany. So if we look at these key facts here, Nazi persecution of Afro-Germans occurred despite their relatively small presence in Germany. The Nazis forcibly sterilized a group of Afro-German children, whom they derogatorily called Rhinelands, Rhineland B words. Most of these children were the progeny of French colonial troops from Africa that were stationed in the Rhineland, Rhineland region after World War I. Black people fought against Nazi Germany in World War II as members of the Allied militaries. Some of them were held as prisoners of war. So then it goes in to talk about Afro-German children in the Rhineland. Okay. Following World War I, the victorious Allies occupied the Rhineland in Western Germany. The use of French colonial troops, some of whom were black, in these occupation forces heightened anti-black racism in Germany. Racist propaganda against black soldiers. Falsely depicted them as rapists of German women. Racist propaganda against black soldiers falsely depicted them as rapists of German women and carriers of venereal and other diseases. The German press derogatorily referred to the children of black soldiers and German women as the Rhineland B words, the other B word. Now, similarly spelled like custard. The Nazis viewed Afro-Germans were children with one African parent, one German parent. The Nazis viewed Afro-Germans as a threat to the purity of the German race. In his 1925 autobiography, Mein Kampf, which means My Struggle, Adolf Hitler charged that the Jews had brought the Negroes into the Rhineland with the clear aim of ruining the hated white race by the necessarily resulting degradation. We'll use that word for FCC purposes. Okay, then it goes and deals with the Nazi persecution of Afro-Germans. Once the Nazi regime came to power, Afro-Germans were marginalized in German society, isolated socially and economically, and not allowed to attend universities. Racial discrimination prohibited them from seeking most jobs. By the end of 1937, the Gestapo had secretly rounded up and forcibly sterilized many Afro-Germans. Some were subjected to medical experiments, others mysteriously disappeared. In addition to being persecuted for their race, Afro-Germans were persecuted for other reasons. For example, Hilarius Gilges was an Afro-German dancer and communist activist from Dusseldorf, Germany, Nazis murdered him on June 20 of 1933 for his politics as well as his race. Today, hilarious Gilges Platz in Dusseldorf, Germany, memorializes Gilges as a victim of Nazi terror. Okay. Then it goes on and talks about African Americans under the Nazis, and it talks about jazz musician Valeta Snow, African American female jazz musician Valeta Snow. So read the rest of this here. This is from the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum, the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. They have a section here, Afro-Germans during the Holocaust. This is from the website encyclopedia.ushmm.org. Okay, they have a lot of information here. Somehow, once again, this information gets left out of these conversations. I'm still trying to figure out why. Then the Guardian.com has a good opinion piece that we talked about on our Wednesday show, because we did almost 3 hours. Go back and watch that Wednesday show, Wednesday, February 2nd. It was on fire. Black people were Hitler's victims too, T-O-O. It wasn't saying Hitler only had 2 victims. They're saying T-O-O in addition to. Black people were Hitler's victims too. That must not be forgotten. Well, but you have to learn it before you can forget it. So technically they didn't forget, I guess, because a lot of people never learned it. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Who we have here? Let's go to Rodney, line 1. Rodney, welcome to the African History Network show. Thanks for holding. Tell us where you're calling from, Rodney.
Okay, how you doing?
I'm all right. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Goldberg, isn't that Jewish?
Yes.
And so Whoopi Goldberg, she had Jewish parents or something?
That's not her birth name. She adopted that name. That's not a birth name. That's her stage name. Yeah, that's not a birth name.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Keep listening. All right. And let me see something here. So her birth name, a lot of people in entertainment have stage names. Her birth name, Karen Elaine Johnson, known professionally as Whoopi Goldberg. Okay. Karen Elaine, C-A-R-Y-N, Karen Elaine Johnson, known professionally as Whoopi Goldberg. All right. So, and you can, Wikipedia is one source, but they have other sources for it as well. All right. I want to go to this article here. Just a second. Let me close some of these tabs out. There was one I was looking at that dealt with responses from co-hosts of The View. So popculture.com has this piece from February 5th, Saturday, February 5th. Another View co-host gives fiery defense of Whoopi Goldberg after suspension. Another The View co-host gives fiery defense of Whoopi Goldberg after suspension. So the View panelists, and we're going to blow this up here, increase the size of it. View panelist Sarah Haynes. Okay, now some of these people on The View, I don't know who they are, because I remember Barbara Walters on The View and Sherry Shepherd. And but Sarah, I didn't know who Sarah Haynes was. But The View panelist Sarah Haynes is throwing her support behind co-host Whoopi Goldberg as the Academy Award winner faces scrutiny and suspension from the daytime TV show in light of her comment regarding the Holocaust. Now, Sarah Haynes shared a photo of the two hosts having a laugh at the table as she snapped a selfie. She said, "This just popped up and warmed my heart." Haynes wrote in the caption, "That's my whoops." The picture quickly stirred up added controversy in the comments section. Both Goldberg supporters and those against her gathered together to share their opinions on the situation under the photo. But Sarah Haynes had a special message for the people throwing dirt on Whoopi Goldberg. She said, quote, "I like to invite people trolling the post to go play somewhere else, to learn from a moment. To learn from a moment is all we can ask of anyone, and prioritizing punitive measures at the expense of the message, issue, and teaching moment are misguided." So, this is really a teachable moment for history. This is really a teachable moment to deal with history, because there's a declining knowledge of the history of the Holocaust in this country. One. Two, Americans are very ignorant of history, especially when it comes to the history of African Americans, when it comes to the history of slavery in this country. We're coming up on a break. We'll deal with this on the other side of the break, because, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the story that dealt with how the lack of the history of Reconstruction being taught in schools as well. Okay, you listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Follow the story Skeeter Hawk as attorney Ben Brooks rediscovers his Gullah Geechee heritage and finds romance along the Gullah Trail and the Sea Islands. Jilted by his fiancée who refused to marry him, Ben Brooks goes back home to Gullah country. There, the Gullah people come to call him Skeeter Hawk. While rediscovering his heritage, Skeeter Hawk unravels dark family secrets. A beautiful childhood friend, Fulla, becomes his guide as they travel the Gullah Trail from North Carolina to the Sea Islands in South Carolina in search of more answers. Ben Brooks falls in love with her and becomes torn between her and his former fiancée, who wants to rekindle their romance. He also deals with a premonition that one of his enemies is pursuing him, providing a backdrop for mystery, romance, intrigue, and suspense in this page-turning novel called Skeeter Hawk from author Sabby Stone. Order your copy today at sabbystone.com. That's SABY, sabbystone.com.
Mental health and well-being have long been a taboo subject in the so-called African American community. So I enlisted the help of mental health experts, thought leaders, and activists to help kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We experience trauma a lot of times on a subconscious level. So sometimes something happens to us and we know that it's traumatizing, but we don't really recognize the extent of the trauma.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, February 6, 2022, and we are live. It's African American History Month. And we started out African American History Month with bomb threats on HBCUs and Whoopi Goldberg getting suspended from The View, and a lot of people, commenting on her comments about the Holocaust. And I heard a lot of people say, "Oh, it was about race. It's about race." Things like this. Well, it wasn't about race. It wasn't about race. Americans really don't have a really poor understanding of history. So how are you going to fault Whoopi Goldberg because she doesn't understand the nuances of Nazi Germany in 1939 and 40 and 41 and 42? And most Americans really don't. Okay. But one of the things that kind of gets left out of the conversation when she was on Steve Colbert's show, she said that she was thinking of racism from the perspective of racism in this country and white people oppressing African Americans. So the fact that the Nazis got the idea of the Nuremberg laws from the way the U.S. was treating African Americans somehow gets left out of this conversation. Okay, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. We're going back to the phone lines in just a minute here. This article here, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This is from Time Magazine. A new report finds that 45 states are failing to teach students about the period that shaped race relations after the Civil War. That's the period called Reconstruction. Okay, 1865 to 1877. All right. period called Reconstruction. It's a study that came out talking about this. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. All right. Now, let's see here. And let me just look at this quickly here. And I got to log in. I have subscriptions to all these services, all these publications, and I got to find what my what my username is for Time Magazine, because I pay Time Magazine also. Just very quickly here, if we look at this, January 12, 2022, in the aftermath of the insurrection a year ago, the January 6th insurrection, 2021, at the U.S. Capitol, many leading historians drew parallels between the violence and the Reconstruction era, between the violence of the insurrectionists who were incited by Benedict Donald, January 6, 2021. Many parallels are being drawn between that and the violence during the Reconstruction era, the period of political revolution directly following the American Civil War. Now, the events we saw reminded me very much of the Reconstruction era and the overthrow of Reconstruction, which was often accompanied or accomplished, I should say, by violent assaults on elected officials. Historian Eric Foner, Pulitzer Prize winning historian, author of the book Reconstruction, America's Unfinished Revolution, 1863 to 1877. He said this in an interview published a week later. Now, scholars say studying the aftermath of the Civil War can help put in context many of the most seminal events in the U.S. in recent years, from the brutal murder of George Floyd by police in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're going to talk about Minneapolis in just a minute with the killing of Amir Locke in Minneapolis, to the voter suppression laws enacted after African-American voters played a big role in helping Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris become elected to president and vice president, but also in defeating the Republicans in the Georgia U.S. Senate races as well. Raphael Warnock wins and John Ossoff. Okay. This infuriated a lot of white supremacists. But despite the timeliness of the era in today's era in today's climate, many students in American schools will not get a full education on Reconstruction until they get to college. Majority of Americans don't go to college. This deals with how the period of time after slavery ends, after the Civil War ends, after slavery ends, how this is not properly being taught. There's very little being taught about Reconstruction. A new report finds that 45 states are failing to teach students about the period that shaped race relations after the Civil War. Okay, so read this from time.com, Time Magazine. So if they don't know that much about Reconstruction, how much do they know about the Civil War? How much do they know about the history of slavery in this country? We know there was one piece from the New York Times that dealt with how about 60% of Americans knew very little or nothing about Juneteenth. Okay, this came out around June 19th, 2021. All right, let's go to the phone lines quickly. Let's go to who we have here. Let's go to Theo. Theo Broughton. Welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from, Theo.
Detroit.
Okay.
Happy Sunday to you.
Happy Sunday.
And I just want to let you know that Hood Research is very excited and happy that you have talked about the Nazis and the murders and all that did. You know, I read about a lot of that, and there were actually 18 million people that I read about, but the Jewish community has been very consistent and thorough about telling their story. And that's why we're so happy that you're telling ours.
You're talking about 18 million. You're talking about 18 million in total, because that Nazis, because the Nazis.
18 million in total that were murdered by the Jews. I mean, by the Nazis.
So I talked about this earlier in the week.
Million is the number that we only hear about.
Okay, so
they're telling their story.
So I talked about this earlier in the week. You had gypsies who were killed. You had there were people from different countries, the Polish and things like this, that were killed. So the number that I saw was about 16 million of different groups of people that were killed by the Nazis. Okay, all right.
Right, an additional 12 million. But in the meantime, I met a man who had survived. He is Polish, and his sister was actually murdered. And it's the only person I've ever met that had suffered through that and was able to finally get here to the United States. But that was one of the reasons that I was interested in reading more about it. And in our community, we need to have more of what you are providing, because as we begin to learn more about our history and more that we need to be proud of, because there's so much that happened that made Black folks ashamed, that the white men flying through the jungle in a diaper and saving 4,000 Africans. I mean, that was just dumb. And you had Step and Fetch It and the ones who were playing roles that made them look retarded and just ridiculous. And it's sad because it appears to me that that's why so many of our people are ashamed of being Black instead of being Black and proud. But I really appreciate your presentations.
Okay, absolutely. All right, thanks, Theo. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks for calling. Hey, now your show is on after this one, right? Okay, she's gone. Her show is on after this one. Her show is on 11 p.m. on Sundays on 9:10 a.m. Superstation WFDF. Okay, once again, read this article here from The Guardian. Black people were Hitler's victims too. TOO. That must not be forgotten by Foray Mungazi and Olivia Marks Wodman. Thursday, January 27th, the International Day of the Remembrance of the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. This is from theguardian.com, 2022. We're coming up here on the break. I want to show you this piece here I talked about early in the week. This is from the Associated Press. World remembers Holocaust as anti-Semitism rises in pandemic, January 27, 2022. Unless they updated it from Wednesday, they don't say anything in here about the Afro-Germans who were killed, number one. But they do talk about Nazi German forces killed 1.1 million people at Auschwitz, because International Day of Remembrance of the International Holocaust Remembrance Day is on January 27th, because it was January 27th, 1945, that Soviet troops liberated the prisoners at the Auschwitz death camps, the Auschwitz concentration camps in Poland. Okay. So it was 1.1 million people killed at Auschwitz, most of them Jews, but also Poles, Roma, and others. Now, if you scroll down, it goes on to talk about, where is that here? This page 2. They deal with other people who were killed as well. About 6 million. Okay, we're on page 2 towards the top. It's about they say about 6 million European Jews and millions of other people were killed by the Nazis and their collaborators. Some 1.5 million were children. Okay. And there were some other numbers I saw as well that dealt with the different groups of people that were killed also. Okay, we'll continue this on the other side of the break. When we come back, we'll talk about Amir Locke in Minneapolis, Minnesota, being killed. We'll talk about Brian Flores as well, suing the NFL. Okay, and we'll give you an update on the bomb threats on HBCUs as well. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep right here on 9:10 a.m. Superstation and Future Radio. We'll be back in a few minutes. Jeanette Davis is a well-established author with 6 published books. Black Survival in White America from Past History to the Next Century was published in 1995, and it delves into the history of African Americans before slavery up to contemporary times. The Great Divide Between Blacks and Whites was released in 2008, and her autobiography, Black Just Like My Mama, was published in 2010. Soulful Journey, The Business of Beings, was released in December 2021, and her two latest books, Echoes from the Heart, Love Throws Poetry, and Master Being Human, were both published in January of 2022. Jeanette Davis' writings delve deeply into the psyche of Black people from ancient to contemporary times. She cuts no corners and leaves no stones unturned in relating truth, letting the chips fall where they may on both African and European doorsteps. Order Jeanette Davis's books today at Amazon.com. Search for Jeanette Davis and get to know her work today. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. Host Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, February 6, 2022, and we are live. Okay, calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. All right, we're gonna go to the clip from Roland Martin Unfiltered. Jalen here in just a second. That is clip number, which one is that? It's dealing with the interview. So that's going to be clip number 2. We're going to go to clip number 2, then we'll go to clip number 3. Okay, so there are protests taking place over the police killing of Amir Locke. And okay, this is what I want right here. Let's go to this here. NBC News has reporting on this. MSN Money picked this up. Protesters angered by police shooting of Amir Locke. So this is from Saturday, February 5th. Protesters in New York shared their frustration over the police shooting of Amir Locke, the 22-year-old African-American man who was shot and killed when police executed a no-knock warrant in which he was not named. Now, he was over at someone else's house. He was not named in the warrant. It was a warrant for property, to recover property. Okay. That's what the warrant was for, recovering property. And we're going to, we'll pull that up also. We'll get some more information on that. Okay. So I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday as a panelist. And we, Roland interviewed Amir's mother, Karen Wells, and also their family attorney. We're going to go to, it was a long interview, so I can't play all of it here. But here's an excerpt of that interview. Let's go to clip 2, Jalen.
And your family and all of your loved ones. I'm gonna start first with Jeffrey. What in the world happened? Why are we sitting here talking about this 22-year-old brother being dead? What happened?
Roland, we just have a city that refuses to change, and it's refused to change for as long as all of us have been working on civil rights cases in Minnesota, and well before me. Repeatedly we have people die in a very similar manner. We had Manning David Smith, who was killed almost identical to the way that George Floyd was murdered, and they were supposed to provide training to stop that, and they didn't. Everyone knew that no-knock warrants were dangerous and increased the likelihood of death. We all saw that with Brandon Taylor. Minneapolis had a warning. It had a chance to change. It told us to change. It told us that they had policies in effect that were going to preclude no-knocks. They even advertised it as a ban on no-knocks. But we now know that that's nonsense. It's not true. And now we have this young, innocent man, and once again, a young, innocent black man who's killed for no reason in Minneapolis because the city refuses to actually be held accountable and show the ability to change.
So I'm watching the video, and why are they going to his place? What did he have? Why are they at his place?
So it wasn't his place. He was a guest at the place he was at, and so far the details have been sparse in terms of what's been released. But Roland, what is overwhelmingly clear and has been confirmed by multiple law enforcement agencies, he was nowhere in no fashion
So 1 second. So the place that he was at, was that person a subject?
Well, what we're being told at this point was that the warrant was being executed at the proper location, and there was no warrant to seize a person, Roland. That's what's even more outrageous about this. This was a no-knock warrant to seize property and put lives at danger to obtain property.
Wait. Okay, so, and y'all have seen the warrant?
I'm aware of the contents of the warrant.
Okay, so I'm just trying to walk through the facts here. I read one report that when they came in, Amir said that he had a gun. Is that true, yes or no?
Is it true when they came in that Amir physically possessed a gun at some point? He was startled from sleep in a matter of seconds, touched his gun, never put his finger anywhere near the trigger. We've seen no video suggest he ever pointed it at any officer or opposed to directed it. It was a young man who had no idea what was going on and was given only a matter of seconds and no opportunity to save his own life.
Now, is it also true that he had a permit for that gun?
Yes. So he obtained a permit previously in the state of Texas, where he lives, and he was possessing that gun lawfully in the location he was at, in the private residence.
So, Karen, your son is sleeping on a couch, blanket over his head. He's sleeping.
Yeah.
He has a permit. He has a permit for a gun. Door opens. Folks bust in yelling. The natural reaction. Look, I've never owned a gun, but I would think that I don't own a gun, but if somebody busts into my house, probably my first reaction is to grab something to protect myself from the folks who are busting in. And if I'm asleep, I'm damn sure not hearing you yell, police, whatever they yelled. This has to be just, for you, shocking and devastating that it happened again in Minneapolis.
Yes, I'm actually disbelieved because I would have never imagined that. Normally, I'm watching what's going on when it's involving other people, other families, but I would have never imagined that I would be sitting here discussing my son being murdered, being killed.
I'm gonna come back to the elements of this case, but for the purpose of our audience, just share with them, humanize your son. Who was he? What did he do? Was he in college? What was he studying? Where was he working? Just share with so people have an understanding that he's not just a hashtag, that he's a human being and actually people what folks should know about him.
Actually, Amir was wanting to become an entrepreneur. He did like DoorDash and he did like Instacart. And I helped him get his LLC to start a business. He was really into doing something for the youth, as far as like the Soul brand line that would cater to the youth. He wanted to get into buying property, real estate. He was really all about generational wealth. That was one of his goals that he wanted to do, as far as, with his family. Amir was kind-spirited. He could make you laugh. He was liked by and loved by practically everybody that came in contact with him. He was very respectful, well-mannered. He respected his elders because that's how we raised him and his older brother. Whenever we would FaceTime, get off the phone, he would always tell me that he loved me, and I would tell him I loved him. The last time I spoke to my son was this past Friday. And he was just trying to, you know, do what he was supposed to do.
Are you do you live in Minneapolis? Do you live elsewhere? Where y'all from?
Actually, he's born and raised in Minnesota. I lived there for over 25 years, and I relocated 2 years ago to Dallas, Texas, and Amir came with me. So, you know, during that time, Amir actually went back, but he was actually, you know, getting ready to come back. And then just different moves that we're talking about doing as far as me going to another location.
So you still live in Dallas, go ahead.
I'm in Dallas currently.
Right, you still live in Dallas, and so he was in Minneapolis visiting friends or there for work.
He had family there, but he was also doing like the Instacart, doing that type of work, and he also did that work in Dallas.
Gotcha. Folks, the police chief and the mayor held a news conference. And Nakima Levy-Armstrong.
Hey, pause it right there, Jalen.
Y'all are familiar with her.
Pause
We've had
right
her on
there.
the show numerous.
Okay. Watch that's the February 4th edition of Roland Martin Unfiltered. Watch that on YouTube, Roland Martin on YouTube, and Roland Martin on Facebook. I'm going to post a link here on the thread of the broadcast for the, we'll post a link here. This is to the entire show, because we ended up doing almost 3 hours on Roland Martin Unfiltered Friday. When we come back, Jalen, we'll go to clip 3. Well, actually, when we go, I just sent you this clip from NBC News dealing with the body cam footage being released. We'll go to that when we come back from the break. Then we'll go to clip 3 from Roland Martin Unfiltered, because that's a segment that I'm in. He goes to his panel. Read this article here from NBC News. Minneapolis police release body camera footage of fatal shooting of black man Amir Locke. You can at least put his name in the title. NBC News. 22 years old during no-knock warrant. Okay. So Minneapolis police have released body camera footage showing the fatal shooting of Amir Locke, a case that has raised tensions in the city and renewed scrutiny upon local law enforcement. Amir Locke was fatally shot by a SWAT team officer with the Minneapolis Police Department as they arrived to carry out a warrant at 6:40 a.m. Wednesday morning. So Wednesday was February 2nd in the 1100th block of Marquette Avenue South. The warrant was related to a homicide investigation out of St. Paul, Minnesota, according to police. Amir was not the target of the search warrant. We'll deal with this on the other side of the break. I'm Michael Imhotep, the African History Network show. We'll be back in a few minutes.
The work that I do is larger than the fashion industry. It's larger than the art world. And I believe that I was born to bring newness into this world. I'm Kaima McIntyre. I'm 24 years old and I'm an artist. I create everything from paintings to jewelry design, metaphysical jewelry to be specific, and fashion design. The only reason why my prom dress went viral is because people needed it. Within a few days of going viral, Notori Naughton reached out to me and she's like, I saw your dress, can you make me a dress? I was equally as shocked to be asked by a celebrity to design their dress at the age of 17. That's just one person, and the list just continues to go on to Janet Jackson, to Tyra Banks. It really hits home. That means that the discussion is happening on the grounds in real time.
Mental health and well-being have long been a taboo subject in the so-called African American community. So I enlisted the help of mental health experts, thought leaders, and activists to help kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We experience trauma a lot of times on a subconscious level. So sometimes something happens to us and we know that it's traumatizing, but we don't really recognize the extent of the trauma.
Future Radio. All right. I want to go to, right before the break, we were talking about this story out of Minneapolis. the killing of Amir Locke. Okay, we're going to get back to that in just a second. I want you to hear this clip from NBC News giving background information on that. Before we go to that, I just want to remind you, this is African American History Month, Black History Month, and we have 2 new classes that started up this weekend at our website. We have the information at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. These are 10-week online courses that I teach dealing with African history and African American history. On Sundays, it is ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles, video clips, guest speakers, everything. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch them anytime. Okay. If you've taken any of my online classes with me before, email me at TheAHNShow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We're going to give you a 50% discount off on the bundle pack. The bundle pack includes a bundle pack of courses. It includes 2 new classes that just started up. This one, as well as From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. We do this one on Sundays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So as soon as you register, you can watch this class. There's also bonus courses. There's also bonus content. And then with understanding the transatlantic slave trade, you're going to get in digital format, you're going to get 15 of my lectures. They're the 15 lectures that are in the Michael Imhotep Black History Month bundle pack. Okay, you can order the bundle pack in e-format at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. It's on sale $100, but you'll get it in digital format. You're going to get it free when you register for Understand the Transatlantic Slave Trade, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa. And that information is at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Once again, if you've taken any of these classes with me before, email me at AHNshow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We're going to give you 50% off discount. And if you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, especially for Black History Month, email me at AHNshow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right. I want to go back to this story out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Let's go to this clip from NBC News, Jalen.
Early Wednesday morning, MPD SWAT team prepared to enter the Bolero Flats apartments downtown on a high-risk warrant entry to help St. Paul police with a homicide investigation. Interim Chief Amelia Huffman says officers had obtained both a no-knock and knock warrant, but instead of breaking down the door, they decided to use a key. Officers announced they had a warrant. Within seconds, the video appears to show 22-year-old Amir Locke on a couch under a blanket with a gun. Interim Chief Huffman assessed that Officer Mark Hanneman was, quote, just outside the frame in the direction that barrel is emerging. This is the moment when police say Hanneman fired at least 3 shots, killing Locke.
Things happen so quickly.
Mylon Masson is the retired training director for Minnesota's law enforcement program.
How are SWAT teams trained to enter in those situations?
Well, there's been some changes over the year that they never used to have to announce themselves. Announcing the police over and over again, that's very, very helpful.
It's not clear if Locke was awake when SWAT entered. According to MPD, he was not named in the search warrant, and police haven't said whether he's connected to the St. Paul homicide investigation.
How do police train for situations where they know there may be people that aren't involved in that residence?
That's why they send so many people in, is so that they can keep track of everybody. They want to split it up, so that I take the person on the couch, this person takes the one in the kitchen.
But it's also not clear yet who or what the police were searching for.
So we just have to wait and see. We have to wait for all of the evidence to come in, the totality of the evidence.
Okay, so that's from NBC News. Check out this article here. Minneapolis police released body camera footage of fatal shooting of black man 22 during no-knock warrant. This is from February 4th, Friday, February 4th, and that video is in this article. Okay, let's go to clip 3. Now, this is from Roland Martin Unfiltered as well, and Roland and I are discussing this shooting. Let's go to this clip, Jalen.
This is what the NRA posted 9 hours ago. Dear Joe Biden, let criminals walk. Same criminals commit more crimes. Come on, man. A teen charged with shooting an NYPD cop. Then they had the retweet from the NRA women. A tweet honoring Ida B. Wells Barnett. Oh, but let me help y'all out. The NRA says she was an educator, journalist, and civil rights crusader. She was also an advocate of the use of firearms for self-defense. She was an advocate for our firearms of self-defense because black folks were getting lynched.
Exactly.
And I don't see a damn thing from the NRA. Go back. Nothing. Saying, doggone shame, what happened to a law-abiding Second Amendment rights carrier. Nothing. I see nothing about Amir Locke.
And they probably won't say anything about Amir Locke. This is one of the bullet points, one of the questions I have here on my notes. Where are the Second Amendment people? Where's the NRA? Look how long it took the NRA to put out a statement when it came to Philando Castile, who had a concealed pistol license, who was legally carrying. And when you study the concealed pistol license laws in the state of Minnesota, where he was killed, he went above and beyond because based upon the state of Minnesota, if you have a CPL and you have your gun on you, you're not obligated to tell the police that you have your gun on you. He went above and beyond and told Officer Yanez he had his piece on him. All right, those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. I'm going to finish that clip because that's me talking. And they cut me off on my show. We're out of time. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for the online classes that I teach. Also, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network. $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. This is our official Cash App account. When you go to it, it says Michael, it shows my picture there, $ the AHN show, SHOW. And we're here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight Eastern Standard Time, and Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m., the African History Network show. Follow those watching on Facebook and YouTube. Keep watching. I'm going to keep going for a few more minutes, and be sure to sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Remember, right now, it's corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. Okay, share this broadcasting on social media platforms here. Give us a thumbs up if you like this, a thumbs up, or a heart if you like this show. All right, let's go back to this clip from Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Nothing saying, doggone shame, what happened to a law-abiding Second Amendment rights carrier. Nothing. I see nothing about Amir Locke.
And they probably won't say anything about Amir Locke. This is one of the bullet points, one of the questions I have here on my notes. Where are the Second Amendment people? Where's the NRA? Look how long it took the NRA to put out a statement when it came to Philando Castile, who had a concealed pistol license, who was legally carrying. And when you study the concealed pistol license laws in the state of Minnesota, where he was killed, he went above and beyond because based upon the state of Minnesota, if you have a CPL and you have your gun on you, you're not obligated to tell the police that you have your gun on you. He went above and beyond and told Officer Yanez he had his piece on him, his pistol on him. So, I looked at this as well. I looked at the reporting from NBC News and looked at the footage. This looks like an execution, number one. Number two, then this calls into question, Roland. Okay, so one of the first things I noticed is that they used the key to enter into the apartment. Okay. And when you and the reporting said that the officers chose to use a key. So I'm just wondering, okay, so why did they choose to use a key to enter? Number one. Number two, it's clear that Amir was under a blanket, probably asleep.
He has a gun. Now, how are officers supposed to execute search warrants when they enter somebody's home and you have people who are legally owning guns? Because they don't know what's going on. You break in, and the first thing somebody is going to do is grab that gun. Okay, so and the other thing is that it's not clear that Amir was ordered to drop the gun. Now, you heard one officer say, "Show me your hands," but it's not clear he was ordered to drop the gun, which once again is really problematic and the fault of the police as well. So this is a deep case, but I wonder when the Second Amendment people and the NRA going to start voicing their opinions. And then when you ask where the white people who were protesting for George Floyd, we can ask where the white women who were out there protesting for George Floyd, because you should be talking about the Voting Rights Bill, the Voting Rights Act, because that impacts you and your women's reproductive rights also.
Kelly, again, this is the fundamental problem with these no-knock warrants. The person on the other side of the door is minding their business. This is why you have got to be, if you're going to have this, you got to be 100% sure and confident that you got the right address and the right person. But here's the problem even with that. He's visiting. If I had you, Matt, and Michael over to my home for dinner and we playing cards, and I live in Virginia and Texas, both of them right to carry states. And if we sitting here playing cards and the cops bust in looking for me, you carrying a gun, you startled, you like, hell, I don't know who busting through, you gonna go for your gun. Then the cops kill you. Oh, well, sorry, she just happened to be there, or we executing. This is the type of wrong policing that goes on. And then when people go, man, why y'all protesting? Exhibit 1,468.
So this doesn't even look like policing to me at all. This looks like a modern day state-sponsored lynching to me, because it makes absolutely no sense that a split-second decision should result in someone's death. I really don't feel like killing someone should be a split-second decision when you have that much power that is state-sanctioned. When you're talking about no-knock warrants, I personally believe they should be unconstitutional, because, again, these are police officers entering your domain with or without your permission. In this case, clearly without permission. On top of that, again, like you said, this wasn't even his home. He's visiting. So the fact that they did this while he was sleeping, it just feels like he was killed because he was sleeping, and he reacted as a result of him waking up. And I'm frankly just tired of Black skin being perceived as a threat. And you would think that this state, of all the states in the past 2 years, that Minnesota would know better, given George Floyd, given the other deaths that have happened in that state. And just for stats' sake, nationwide in 2021, just last year, 30 plus days ago, 15 days. That's how many days that police officers did not kill someone in the line of duty.
Okay, so watch the rest of that. That was Kelly Bethea. She's an attorney. I was on the panel with Kelly and Matt Manning. I think it's Matt Manning. Matt is an attorney also. Okay, that was from Roland Martin Unfiltered, Friday, February 4th, 2021. All right. So Roland mentioned the NRA's website. He was on their Twitter page. Okay. So I'm on the NRA, National Rifle Association. I'm on their Twitter page right now. And they got stuff on here about Joe Biden. This is from February 3rd. Joe just once again proved he's not serious about fixing his crime crisis. Okay. Okay. So that's not true. But anyway. So then here's the tweet about Ida B. Wells. Now, Ida B. Wells was an advocate of firearms to protect us from crazy ass white people who were lynching African Americans. And she wrote about this in the newspaper she was the publisher of. She wrote about this after the mosque store killings of 1892 in Memphis, Tennessee, when Tom Moss and his two friends were lynched by a mob of white people. And she told them that, you know, a Winchester has a coveted place in every Negro home. And she was urging African Americans to arm themselves to protect us from crazy white people. In honor of black, so they retweeted this tweet from NRA Women in honor. This is how stupid these people are. In honor of Black History Month, learn more about Ida B. Wells, an educator, journalist, and civil rights crusader. She was also an advocate of the use of firearms for self-defense. Yes, she was. Absolutely. And it was crazy white people that ran her out of Memphis, Tennessee. Okay. So then they have, this is the tweet that Roland was talking about. Dear Joe Biden, let criminals walk. Same criminals commit more crimes. Okay. Teen charged with shooting NYPD cop in custody for violating police probation. Now, how many posts do they have about the white people who shoot police officers and kill police officers? Because the majority of police officers each year, the majority of police officers kill by white people, not African Americans. So how many posts do they have about the white men who kill police officers? I'm just curious. So then they had this post, Fox News, Biden's gun first approach to violent crime ignores basic facts, all this nonsense. Okay, nothing on here about Amir Locke, who's law-abiding citizen, legally owns, permit to carry, shot and killed by police. Whole thing, it took something like 9 seconds or something. Nothing on here about Amir Locke. February 5th. Nothing on here about Amir Locke. This is Joe Biden's crime crisis. This is not a Second Amendment crisis. Okay. 10 million Americans legally bought their first gun over the past 2 years. Why? Because of Democratic policies like defund the police. That's not why. This dumbass Representative Stefanik out of New York. That's not why. Then they just posted this one. Joe knows nothing about guns. He's never taken our guns. These are some crazy ass people. Nothing on here about Amir Locke. National Rifle Association. Now, just so you want to, first of all, Joe Biden has never advocated for defund the police, first of all. Just so we understand that. And I talked about this during the presidential campaign. He was for adequately funding police departments and adequately funding the social programs as well. Joe Biden never advocated defund the police. That's just some nonsense the NRA is running because it's a bunch of ignorant ass people that follow the NRA. And they'll fall for stuff like that. There was an article, let me pull this up from Firefox. There was an article from NBC News this weekend. And this deals with this deals with the whole defund the police, which I told you from the beginning was a terrible slogan. And mental health needs to be, but all the programs have their merit and they all need to be funded. All that stuff needs to be funded. It can't be an either or. But there's an article here from NBC News. And let me see if I find this here. This deals with how Democrats went from defund the police to refund the police. Now, all Democrats weren't advocating for defund the police. Okay, just so everybody understands. There's a lot of them that weren't advocating for that. There's more progressives that were advocating for that, but all of them weren't advocating for that. Not at all. Read this article here. Now, NRA may not post this one. How Democrats went from defund to refund the police. As crime rates rise ahead of the midterms, black mayors of the nation's largest cities are leading the call to crack down on homelessness. Now, this doesn't mean that, we don't want other programs, job training programs, around services. We don't want programs funded that will help prevent crime. That doesn't mean that. But if something happens, if somebody breaks into your house or somebody robs you or carjacks you, you call the police, you want somebody to respond. A young Democratic member of Congress declared defund the police movement dead on Thursday, and black Democratic mayors from San Francisco to New York, Chicago to Washington, D.C. are moving to increase police budgets and end the reign of criminals, because a lot of police departments are understaffed. They have a shortage of police. You've had matriculation. You have some that just going to retire, scheduled to retire, things like this. So yes, some police departments that are understaffed, and they have to hire more police. As violent crime surges ahead of the November midterms, President Joe Biden and the Democratic Party are toughening their talk on crime and refunding the police only 2 years after some progressive activists took up the call to defund them. Okay, all the Democrats weren't advocating defund the police, and I don't even remember the platform. Now, police reform, yeah, it needs to be police reform, criminal justice reform, all that stuff. But even as a platform, defund the police wasn't even a platform for the Democratic Party. Police reform, yes. But defunding the police, no. People are still against crime and people want to be safe, said former Philadelphia Mayor Michael Nutter in an interview. You're seeing in communities all across the country that when folks actually came to grips with the conflict of rising crime rates and an effort to quote unquote take away from policing, the public being way ahead of the politicians as usual figured out no, that's not a good idea. We want to be safe. We know Joe Biden traveled to New York City Thursday to meet with the city's new elected Democratic Mayor Eric Adams, a former police officer who has vowed to clean up the streets. Adams' victory in the crowded Democratic primary last year was seen by many in the party as a sign that voters were done with anti-police rhetoric. The voters were done with anti-police rhetoric. 2 years after Democratic officials across the country aligned themselves with protesters demanding the police be reined in, and progressives backed the elections of reformist prosecutors, the mayors of many of the nation's largest cities are now reversing course and leading calls for a tougher stance on crime. Former Mayor Michael Nutter is black. He has been on something of a crusade against Philadelphia's reformist District Attorney Larry Krasner, who was white, after the top prosecutor said at a December news conference that, quote, "We don't have a crisis of lawlessness. We don't have a crisis of crime. We don't have a crisis of violence," end quote. Now, there's a balance that has to be met with all this. Yes, you need criminal justice reform. Yes, you need police reform. Yes, some police officers need to be fired. They don't need to be police. I've said before, many of us who want to do the right thing. Many of us need to become the type of police officers we say that we want to see. Because if we don't become the police officers and become the police officers in our own communities, who are going to be the police officers then? Where are they going to get them from? The white suburbs? Where are they going to come from? In the Philadelphia Inquirer op-ed, Michael Nutter wrote that, quote, "It takes a certain audacity of ignorance and white privilege to say that right now," noting that people of color living in struggling parts of the city were often the ones most victimized by crime. Now, that doesn't mean we want police brutality. We want police to do their job. We don't want police brutality, and we don't want crime either. We have to disabuse people of this flawed premise that black and brown people are against the police. Black and brown people are against police abuse. Former Mayor Michael Nutter said, "As Democrats, we have to do two complicated things at the same time. We have to do two complicated things at the same time. We have to ensure public safety and reform the abuses of the criminal justice system." Now, that's reality. You ain't going to hashtag your way to this either. That's reality. You're going to have to deal with the crime and deal with getting rid of rogue police officers like Jason Van Dyke, who just got released from prison after he killed Laquan McDonald. You're going to have to do both. You're going to have to do both. Okay, so read that article here from, read the rest of that from NBC News, okay? These other stories, we talked about Brian Flores earlier in the week. This was a story, we'll give an update on that tomorrow because we're way over time here. This is a story we talked about from the this was one from the New York Times that we talked about early in the week. Brian Flores sues the NFL. Let me see here. Where is that? Right here. Brian Flores sues the NFL claiming bias in coaching search. Okay. So we talked about this early in the week. We'll give an update on this because he was interviewed on Politics Nation by Reverend Al Sharpton on Saturday. And there have been some statements that have come out from Roger Goodell, the commissioner, etc. So we'll give an update on that on Monday's show. We're here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. tonight, Eastern Standard Time, and Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the African History Network show. Okay. Be sure to register for the online history classes I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. And then from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. So these are 10-week online history classes I teach, and we're kicking these off for African American History Month, Black History Month. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch them anytime, even a year from now. If you want to go back and watch them, you can do that. We'll post a link here. It's right on the homepage of our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for both classes at a discount, $120 for both classes. They're regularly $130 each. If you've taken classes with me before, email me at TheAHNShow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com for a 50% discount also. As soon as you register, you can start watching the content, and there's bonus content and bonus lectures as well. All right. And we'll post a link here. Again, you can watch from around the world also. Okay, remember at the African History, also you can advertise with the African History Network. African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. Email us at AHNShow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com.